Thank you for coming back to this next episode of the Professional Evil Fundamentals. I'm Kevin Johnson. And what we're going to talk about now is the response to a web request. Now, I want to be very clear that we're going to do a very quick overview of this. Obviously, as you're doing testing and assessments of applications, whether they're web or mobile or whatever, the responses you get from the server, just like with the requests that you send in, they're going to be very dependent on the technology stack that you're using and how the application is processing things. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to show you two different responses, one from Dojo-basic and one from juice-shop. So here's one. This is actually, if you watched our request video, this is actually the response to a successful login from before. Remember, we had that post request. And so you'll notice that the very beginning of the request says HP 1.1 200 OK. Now the first part of that, the HP 1.1, is the server accepting, acknowledging that it wants to respond, to communicate with the same version that the client asked for before. Remember that we had said HP 1.1 on the request. It's saying, yep, 1.1 on the response. We then get a 200, which is a status code, and it's an OK. We then have a few headers, and just like with the request, a blank line is what ends that header. We have the server tag. This is the server it identifies as, and it doesn't have to be right, it doesn't have to be correct or true, but in this case it is. We're running Nginx 1.14.2 within Samurai. It's the date the server thinks it is, right? March 8th of 2020. The content type and content length of the response. We also have a couple other things that are interesting. One, we have an X powered by. Now remember that anything that starts with X dash in a header is experimental. Now, it's not really an experiment, right? We're not going to blow up a lab or something like that. What it means is it's not a standard response. Now, many of the responses have become used so often, they are pretty much a standard response, even though they're not the standard, hence the X dash. And then we have two cookies being set. That's with the set-cookie header. One is the session ID, and you'll notice that it gives the path that it's valid for, and that this one has the HTTP only flag set, which means it's not accessible to any client-side code. We also have a cookie being set called UID, which with a 0A %3D. And you'll notice when I hover over it, you can see that it is 0A equals, right? And we can actually decode that within Burp. Then, we have the blank line, and then the actual response. In this case, it's the header, the head of the HTML file, the body, and then all the content, right? I will point out that we see some interesting things like old username query. Nice, right? Now, remember I said we're going to show you two of these. The other one that I want to show you is juice-shop. And what I want to show you here is, just like the previous one, right? HP 1.1 200 OK, Nginx server, the date and time. But notice we also have this access control allow origin splat. That is a CORS header that's being sent back. We have lots of other videos about CORS that we're not going to talk about right now. But if you ever hear of it, that's one of the types of CORS headers that you can see in a response. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you're enjoying these videos, and we look forward to any questions, comments, and feedback that you have. Thank you.